Thank you. Hello, and thank you so much again for tuning in. This is the new stimulus package, Us. And I really want to thank everybody for saying that you like the show. I see people out in the street and they say they really enjoy the show. Thank you. I'm trying to bring you the best programs that I can on people that's doing things in the community. And here in the studio with me is Phyllis Bowie. How you doing? Thank you so much
Hi.
for coming in.
Nice to see you
Yeah,
again after all these years.
she's gonna. We're gonna talk with her, but right now we're gonna show a segment of a rally that she's going to talk about. It's about the problems they're having at Midtown, the housing problem they're having at Midtown. We're going to show that clip, and we'll be right back.
My name is Joshua Arce. I'm a civil rights attorney who's had the honor of working with the beautiful and amazing, resilient, and fearless people that you see behind you, the residents of Midtown Park Apartments, for 8 years. And it has come to this, and we're going to describe and tell you what the this is in a moment, but it has come to this. It has come to a community that fought and defeated the redevelopment agency's bulldozers in the 60s and 70s. That, as we are now learning from the San Francisco Chronicle last week until the weekend, is a community that has fallen victim to speculation after their mortgage got paid off. And now we're joined by a fearless group of families, 60 families, who are facing rent increases ranging from 30% to 300%. And they're not going to take it, are they?
No!
Are we going to pay?
Hell no!
Because the average family that's here behind you faces a 100% rent increase. There are people here who have been asked to pay an additional $3,000 in rent as of Saturday. It is a shame. And so, therefore, we met here today because everyone here behind you faces a rent increase. Everyone here behind you has a pending action of determination at the rent board. And after the rent board, it'll go to the Superior Court. And after that, it'll go to the Court of Appeal. And after that, it'll go to the Supreme Court. But that doesn't address the fact that rent has to get paid. You have lawyers joining from all around San Francisco, including from UC Berkeley today. We want to thank you for joining. And we've been getting calls as word has gotten out about what we're going to do today of more folks who want to join us in this legal struggle about constructive eviction for what the evidence shows is clearly an intent to remove the people that are here that make up this amazing, brilliant, and powerful community. And when we came here today, we said, well, what are we going to do? You know, we have our rent checks and we have our money orders and we have, we're not going to pay these new rents because we can't. That means we would just leave and pack up our things and go away. But we said, well, maybe do we pay our old rent? And even then we said, well, let's not do that because we got some advice. We got some advice from an icon of the civil rights movement, Ambassador Young. Does everyone know we had the chance to talk to Ambassador Young? Ambassador Young worked with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on a similar situation in Chicago in 1966. And 2 months ago, when talking about what we're dealing with here, he said, well, I guarantee you one thing. You're going to find that at the end of the road, you're going to have to do one thing if you want to secure justice at Midtown. And you tell everyone, and he gave us a letter about this. And he said that you're going to have to do what we did today, which is to come together to vote to go on strike. We're calling a rent strike in Midtown because we're on strike. 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 Now this is believed to be the biggest rent strike since 1978 and the Pinion Apartments rent strike that Mayor Ed Lee called with respect to the housing authority in Chinatown. And it can't be stated that enough that this is unprecedented territory, at least for a long time. But it's a territory we're going into willingly. Right, everyone? Yeah! all worked very hard to try to have a resolution that would stop us from getting to this, but it never happened. So we're here at Mercy Housing to go on strike and say, what do we say about Mercy? Shame on Mercy!
Shame on mercy! Shame on mercy! Shame on mercy! Shame on mercy!
All right.
Wow. Now that was what? Tell us what's happening now. You're going on rent strike. Now I've heard some things about Midtown, and for a long time I thought it was condos. But tell us about the situation there.
First, I want to start off and acknowledge Josh from Brightline Defense. I have to tell you, he has been instrumental as an advisor, as a leader, and as kind of helping us calm down a little bit and know that this is going to be a long run. So I want to first give a shout out to him.
Oh, now who is Bright?
You see Josh from Brightline Defense is who you saw in the clip.
Okay, okay.
And he's our advisor and kind of telling us our rights. And
Great.
as a matter of fact, I want to start off by saying from that clip that was actually something that was encouraged by Ambassador Andrew Young that actually met with Josh.
Is that right?
And spoke to Josh. Josh spoke with him specifically about Midtown. And Andrew Young suggested doing this because they did it, he and Martin Luther King did it in the mid-60s.
Okay.
And he told him the strategy on how to do it. In the first few weeks, you want to really get a reaction. So that's kind of where we stand now. Let me tell you who we are.
Okay, good. Come on,
who
come on.
Midtown Park Apartments are, who
Okay.
I am. My name is Phyllis Bowie, and I've been a resident at Midtown Park Apartments for 20-odd years. I stopped counting after a while. And if you can just, I'm going to paint this picture for you. If you could imagine being around, 32, 33 years old, and you have lived in the Western Addition most of your life, taking the 24 to Visadero, been on Fillmore, taking the 22. Also have been on the picket lines in the 60s with your mother, Jeannie Bowie, who you know.
Right.
And in my neighborhood, Midtown Park Apartments was always this place that,
Right.
you had to have money
Right, right.
and prestige. They
Right.
don't just let anybody there.
Right.
That was the reputation and the perception that I had growing up. And so when I had an opportunity and I needed a place to stay, I thought, should I? So I applied and I got on the waiting list. It took 2 years to get on the waiting list. I could only afford the smallest apartment because at that time you had to have good credit and you had to have at least 3 times the amount of rent as your salary. And so I was on the waiting list for maybe about a year, year and a half, almost 2 years. Then when I got into the small apartment, I went on the waiting list again for a larger apartment, and I strived to make more money. So I was a small business owner, Bowie Interiors, and interior designer, and I was so happy with my apartment. I was so happy with the sense of community. I was so happy with some of the people I'd gone to high school with, and just still being in the neighborhood. And so as years gone on, I pursued my business. I was back and forth doing business in Los Angeles, always coming home, knowing this is my home. And then I started hearing rumblings about the mayor's office, didn't really know what was going on. In my mind, when I signed my lease 20-something years ago, I was told we were going to become cooperative.
Right.
And that my rent would go toward the
ownership.
For ownership and equity. I didn't think anything of it. I went to a couple of meetings, but life, I get busy, so I just got really busy doing my life. And then all of a sudden, 2013, Christmas Eve, the city, the mayor's office of housing broke our lease that we had, which is called a master lease, which I don't want to get too complicated, but that holds the primary lease, and then we were our own operational entity as a nonprofit, Midtown Park Corporation. So I'll keep the details at that. But once that lease was broke, we got released of our operational duties, which we had been doing for over 40 years. Got released of that. All of our property managers, our maintenance, all got fired, and they were rehired. They were new people rehired by the mayor's office of housing.
Different people than you.
Different people. That all our people are gone, and we're no longer operational. We have nothing to say. So what happened is the city came in and said, we own this property. This property is a subsidized property because we use federal dollars for it. And then all of a sudden I'm getting, what? okay, I'm thinking, politics gives me a headache. That kind of stuff makes me want to take a nap. So I just thought, you know what? I don't have anything to worry about. Let me go about my life because I know we have rent control.
Right.
We've been under rent control. Every time anybody who's out there who's a San Franciscan and you've been in your place for anywhere between 10, 15 years, definitely 20 years, and at Midtown Park, the median is about 20, 30 years of the people that have been there. So most San Franciscans know the relief that you have knowing that your rent's only going to go up so much for, okay, fine.
Per year.
So I'm off doing my business once again, going back and forth, flying here and there, and then all of a sudden I get a notice under my door that says, yeah, your rent is going up to $3,575 as of August 1st. And that's it. It's a story. No meetings, no conversation. Okay, so now I take a deep breath. We take a deep breath. And I realize as I open my eyes, all of my neighbors are getting the same thing. And then I kept sitting back going, you know what? There's no way they can do this. This isn't going to happen. Even though I get threatened with eviction, like as soon as I walk in my door, do you know when you have something like Pavlov's dog where you have negative reinforcement, positive reinforcement? I'm telling you right now, my blood pressure would hit every time I come home and there'd be a little envelope under my door. Those of you who are listening who live at Midtown, you know what I mean, because we'd have things under our door and I'm very hopeful. So I think, oh, this is something telling me to come in and let's straighten this out. No, it was another threat. Then another threat, and then another threat. So it got to the point where I didn't even want to open up mail that got slid under my door, and it was usually done in covert times of the night, like at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. You just wake up and all of a sudden there it is. So anyway, with all that, I add a little bit of humor because what we have right now, and why I'm here right now, is because we need help. We are currently on a rent strike. We are currently in negotiations with our property manager who was contracted by the Mayor's Office of Housing, which is Mercy Housing. We're in the process of working out the details of what we need to do as we wait for rent control. We're on our second petition and our first appeal. So that's where we are now. So right now we're just wanting to stop the possibility of 3-day notices and the possibility of people's rent increasing over 300%. And unfortunately, I kept saying to myself, there's no way. As a matter of fact, most of my neighbors booed me because I'm like, there's no way the mayor knows what's going on. There's no way the Mayor's Office of Housing knows. There's no way that the Board of Supervisors would allow that. I just knew that somebody would come to our rescue. Instead, things got turned around, and I saw us on the news, and before you knew it. And so let me actually read something here that because I kept saying, oh my goodness, there's no way that those people are so mean-spirited. It just has to be a lack of transparency. But all of my neighbors were like, okay, we're going to show you proof. So I have right here, a resolution, 325-07. And it was signed in by the Board of Supervisors in June 12, 2007. All 10 said yes. And I'll just read to you one portion of it, just one portion. This is the main thing in the media that we've been called selfish because we're not paying our fair share of 30%, and that we're not allowing low income to come. So let me just refer to the Board of Supervisors 2007 resolution to Midtown Park Apartments. Whereas the resident population at Midtown Park Apartments is radically and ethnically diverse and comprised of households with incomes ranging from very low to moderate. From very low to moderate. Right now, when we moved in, we were moderate, so I paid market price. Like I said, I have to. But now that 20 years has gone by, that of course with current day rent, that looks crazy, but we have rent control. Now the city is saying, now the rent board is saying, no, actually, you did have rent control until 2013 when your lease was broken. Right now you are under the jurisdiction of a government and we don't have any say-so over a government. Now that doesn't make sense to me. Isn't the rent board a a byproduct of the mayor's office? Couldn't the mayor just go on and say you got rent control even if the board's saying we don't have? It's all about the intent. So let me just stop right here. It's about intent. And so here's what we want. Here's what our intent. SaveMidtown.org. SaveMidtown.org. We need help in two areas. The first one is appealing and getting evidence and documents to prove that we deserve rent control, and that there are other properties in San Francisco under the jurisdiction of the Mayor's Office of Housing that gets both city, state, and federal funds, but they also are protected under rent control. So I want to know, why are we any different? That's number one. So we're needing an advocacy board. That's what I'm asking for. Lawyers out there that want to do pro bono, or just give us advice, or community leaders that just want to come in and kind of be an advisory board for us, so we can get organized. The second thing we're asking for, and this is a long term, is for us to get what was promised to you. And I'm going to read what was promised to us at Midtown Park. I'm going to read the resolution once again. I should have had it highlighted. Here it is. Whereas the Mayor's Office of Housing is committed to working with the tenants to complete the planning for a transfer of ownership and substantial rehabilitation of Midtown Park Apartments. And whereas any transfer of ownership must be approved by the Board of Supervisors, and now therefore be resolved by the Board of Supervisors. Also, whereas the Mayor's Office of Housing has recommended that the city's ownership of Midtown Park Apartments be terminated as soon as a new ownership structure acceptable to both the city and the corporation. The corporation's Midtown Park Corporation, our residence board, can be determined. To me, all of this language is a collaborative. It's both working together. Since that lease was broken, there has been a dictation. You dictated that this is what you're going to do.
Yeah, but this is supposed to take precedent over anything.
And that's why I'm asking, once again,
this is a resolution signed by the mayor.
Mayor Newsom.
Mayor Newsom already. So if somebody
and they
must
all
not
voted,
have.
I think maybe they just don't see it. I know a lot of my neighbors are laughing at me right now. Maybe they just don't know it. So that's why we want to let them know that not only do we want to save our homes from Midtown, from eviction, because we don't have rent control. We don't want to have increased rents. We don't want to have to do 30% of our income. There's no problem with those who are doing that, but that is not us.
Yeah,
that's not what we originally were.
Right. And the original resolution. This seems to me this is all you need.
That's what I would think.
Because the city then already
approved it,
and it was voted on and passed by all the supervisors,
and
the mayor at that time.
Right there at that time,
Mayor Newsom. So have that been presented?
I love those questions, because I was the same way. I'm just a regular resident trying to make a living as a small business, and I don't understand. I'm still naive. So the only thing I can say is that they just haven't seen this.
Yeah,
and as soon as they see that,
we
can come to the table. And what we need, what would be great? How wouldn't this be great? At the Mayor's Office of Housing, who now holds the lease on the property, the city and county of San Francisco, who now owns the property, and Mercy Housing, which I think they do a great job as organizing and getting communities together. We all sit down at the table with the Midtown Park Resident Corporation, and come up with a solution, and answer questions. Why don't we have rent control protection? I just want to have somebody answer me that question, not go to the rent board, but you, Mayor, tell me why. And then the second thing is ownership. Why have we not even discussed ownership? How did we become subsidized without even we knowing that we went from this elite place to be where you had to pay 3 times your salary to move in? All of a sudden now we're subsidized and we have to adhere to,
it's been some mistakes made. Has anybody presented that to the mayor's office, and have you tried to set up a meeting with them?
Well, this is why we need help. Where's the camera? Where do I look?
right in the camera there.
SaveMidtown.org. You can get in touch with us there. Our email is info at Save.
Yeah, look in this camera.
Okay. Hi, everybody. SaveMidtown.org. Once again, our email info at SaveMidtown.org. Our website, SaveMidtown.org. And then our Facebook, Save Midtown. You can get contact with us anyway. Just send us a quick email. We're needing help. Some of the questions we're asking, I don't understand why the Board of Supervisors hasn't seen this. I don't understand. Right now, we were so scared we were going to be evicted, and we couldn't keep standing around going, wait a minute, don't they, who hasn't showed it to them?
Right.
So we have to start doing it ourselves. So right now, we're just trying to take a break for a minute and realize that hopefully through these negotiations we will not be served a 3-day notice. I think the negotiations are going in that way, and that the unfair raise of the rents are going to be reevaluated on a fair scale. I think that's fair. But that's just to stop the hemorrhaging. The real battle is we hold rent control, and we want help in getting our cooperative ownership, which was promised to me because we paid. By the way, we paid off the mortgage. That's the other part.
And they paid off the mortgage.
Yeah,
so,
we were in
the
trouble.
whole thing,
they came in.
What I think is it's been a mistake. The city that made a big mistake.
And just an oversight.
And just an oversight.
I agree with you.
And I want to bring you back.
Okay.
Our time is up.
Already?
Our time is up. But
SaveMidtown.org.
We need to
help.
They need help, folks. Those of you who want to call in and check out the website, please check it out. Call the city and tell them that, hey,
Midtown Park.
Midtown, lighten up. At least meet with the people.
At least see who we are. We're working class, hard-working people. Some of us are low income now. Some of us are retired now. Some of us are disabled now. Yeah. But when we started, we were working class. It was moderate income, and it was great.
As a matter of fact, Carlton Goodley lived there.
Absolutely.
I remember
Absolutely. This was the place to be.
Yeah. So, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. And please be an active viewer and call in and participate because, we need you.
Thank you.
Thanks.